Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on a Friday. We are going to get you started with Minecraft Education Edition. So if your students are playing Minecraft, it's probably not the version that you're thinking of, but there is an education side of things for Minecraft. So we're going to show you what that looks like. I am Isabella. I am tuning in live here from Toronto, settled on Treaty 13A, and I'll let Jonathan introduce himself.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. My name is Jonathan. I teach in the Field District School Board, and I am settled here on Treaty 14, which is in Ontario, so Milton, Ontario. And I'm just going to put the slide deck in the chat just so that everyone can grab that at any point in time that they want. But before we begin, I would like to do a land acknowledgement and honor the lands and territories that both Isabella and I are on, and recognize that for thousands of years, it has been the traditional lands of the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississauga of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work and learn and live on these lands. I do the territory acknowledgement as a way to offer recognition and respect as a treaty person. I do it to repair our relationships with Indigenous communities and with the land. And the acknowledgement also honors the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action. When I think about acknowledgements, I think to a former student when she told me of the Mi'kmaq word, Misnamag, which means all my relations. And I think about the relationships in which I've created, as well as the communities in which I have had the privilege to learn from. And I, during this acknowledgement, ask you to reflect on those relationships and the ways in which you are building those relationships with the land, as well as with Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island.
So we are coming to you from the Cobblestone Collective. Essentially, it's a group of educators who are quite passionate about educational technologies, ranging from Minecraft all the way to simple things like Google for education. And we love sharing how we're using these tools in our classroom. So, and we also actually have a bunch of series that are co-taught lessons. So if you're interested in finding out how you might be able to use Minecraft education in your classroom, feel free to register for free. These lessons, basically you bring us in virtually and we will guide your class alongside with you during a particular time. So just check it out at cobblestonecollective.ca for your upcoming lessons. So for today's plan, essentially, we're just gonna get you started, short intro on what Minecraft education looks like. And we'll definitely talk about in terms of like how that's gonna fit into our classroom, curriculum-wise, and also just managing it all, because I think when our students are on our computer, it's so easy to sort of lose their attention. We're gonna be exploring some of the lessons that Minecraft has developed for us, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel a little bit, as we actually could use some of the pre-existing tools that they have created for us. And we're actually going to dive straight into Minecraft. So if you do have it up, feel free to have that loaded in the back end. And when Jonathan walks you through, we can just go straight into that space and we'll create some fun stuff in Minecraft. And then finally, we're going to end it with some resources that you can take home, and hopefully that will help you a little bit more. Okay, so I think Jonathan's already asked this question. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how comfortable are you? Are you a Minecraft expert? You're like, I got this. You can tell me to run a Minecraft lesson, no problem. Or are you a 1 and you're like, I have no idea? Yes.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get you up there. I see a bunch of zeros and no nothing. It's quite all right. Don't worry.
I was there like 2 months ago, and I was like, and when I was told to like explore Minecraft, I was like, I don't know if I can manage this. So we will all get there. Awesome.
You got some 5s and 4s though.
Can just do this for us. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that, David. So essentially, what Minecraft Education Edition, it's basically a game-based environment. And what we really love about it is that it's like a virtual space that our students can get to play, but in a very safe and inclusive manner. A lot of the things that they've created is essentially stored in that world, and they can essentially learn how to fail forward and fail beautifully in a very safe environment, because they're not necessarily having other outsiders that are joining into this world and like destroying things, but they can actually sort of explore and like really tap into that creativity side of things. And with the certain built-in functions that Minecraft has, such as the, assess the immersive reader, you can, and there's like a little notebook, you can actually input things in your world as assessment pieces. And there's also obviously the export options as well, where if you have like a, not a BYOD school, if you have like an iPad card or Chromebook card, you can actually have your students export that world and have them log in on a different device. So, and in addition to that, we've also mentioned that there are lessons, and their lessons are quite thematic. So it depends on what kind of topics you're talking about, and they almost every single lesson. What I love about it is that there's always like that SEL, the social emotional learning piece, in terms of like, what's the growth mindset behind that? Like, how can we make this better? And how can we, it's not like we complete a task and then we be done with it, have a check mark off of our checklist, but it really allows our students to sort of think further. And that's what really coding is all about. Like, instead of having, one solution, can we find a different solution to this problem? And can we find a more graceful solution to this problem? So, and you're going to get to see what that looks like. I don't know, Jonathan, if you wanted to add how you're using Minecraft in your school.
Yeah, so we'll get later on to talking about the pillars of where the philosophies are. But I mean, what I love about it is that it just, that creativity and that it reaches a lot of our students who may not necessarily show their thinking in like a formal written way, but they definitely see the connections with Minecraft and the skills that are there. And so that it's multi-platform, right? So that, and we'll get to those, I think those are the next two slides, where it's on a Chromebooks, it's on iPads, it's on MacBooks, it's on Windows devices, and it works right across all those platforms there.
Yeah, so as mentioned, if you don't have it, or if your students are, bring their own device, if your school is a bring your own device school like mine, you have to get your students install the Minecraft Education Edition. So once you go into the website, it automatically detects your operating system. So if it's Windows, there's that. If it's Mac, it allows you to download that. And on Chromebooks, you can also do that through the Google Play Store, but it's also on our on the iPad as well. So like on the iPad, you can also simply download it through the App Store. And just make sure that you are downloading the Minecraft Education Edition, not just the Minecraft, because it is slightly different in terms of this app and what they can do.
Awesome. So here's the slide that just talks a little bit about what Minecraft is, and that there's 6 principles that kind of, it goes beyond just game-based, right? The idea of failing, I think, is the bottom line, and we're going to do some failing today, and it's okay to fail. It's also nice to know, I see a lot of 1s and 0s, and that's okay too, because our students know quite a lot. I know when I first learned about this, my daughter was 5, and she basically said to me, "Daddy, can I play Minecraft?" I'm like, "I don't know what that is." She goes, "Don't worry, I can watch YouTube videos on it." And so that's how I learned Minecraft. And but that also brings out the flexibility, right? There's not one path to success inside of Minecraft. Things can kind of change. And the construction dynamic that happens with that. So as they start to build things, like, so I used in Ontario, we have an ancient civilizations projects for our grade 4s, 5s and 6s. And they started to really understand the meaning of how environment impacts civilization, because they had to pick different construction to show their ancient civilization. So I had some kids say, can I use glass? And I'm like, when was glass invented? Oh, I don't know. And so they had to go back and like actually research that, right? So having the ability to have a meaningful construction to something meant that they actually had to research things properly and understand the relationships between the materials and the things that they're using and why they're using. And that's why like situations matter, right? Like it's experiential learning, it's there. And then finally, it creates this system thinking, which allows them to see how things fit together in places, right? Like I can't place this block here because it ends up being like a hole in the space, or this doesn't fit with my design, or this doesn't explain something else. And then finally, this empathy, and Jody, you asked the question about like, how do I safely do this? As you start to build like norms around it, your students start to feel empathy for when things are destroyed, because they don't like it when their own things are destroyed. But I mean, there are little things we can do inside of Minecraft that I can help you with to make sure that they don't blow things up. But kids learn compassion towards one another and towards how to work together and how to place things together, or how to plan their constructions when they're working together. But Isabel, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, what I love about using Minecraft in my classroom is that we are truly co-learning together. Like, I'm no longer the expert, and now my students are the student leaders that they're showing their peers as well as me. And I could see like that glimmer in their eyes when they're able to become, you know, those confident learners themselves and actually show other people like, oh, actually you can build it like this instead of that. And like them co-sharing, like you can just hear that kind of discussion that's happening live while they're building instead of actually just like doing it by themselves. And yeah, like I just love that part. And like feeling the fact that, like, you know, even if I'm not necessarily the Minecraft expert, there's always going to be students who are able to help you out with that, and not in a mean way. I teach high school, like they're never, you know, like, oh, Miss Leo, you're not an expert, like go away. But it's very much like, actually, why don't I show you how to do this? And so yeah, I just love how they're able to do that in a very authentic way. So I guess should we just dive into it? Before we dive into it, I guess you have seen the FAMAR model. Essentially, it allows us to sort of transform the way we teach a curriculum. Like Jonathan has mentioned, the ancient civilizations unit, traditionally it would probably be like, okay, now you go on Google and you're going to research some ancient civilization or some architecture, and then you're going to have to present. But with Minecraft, they can still do that research piece, but they can now actually build their own interpretation of a particular building, or actually they could try their best trying to replicate a building within Minecraft. And while they're building it, they can record the screen and then speak to it. And that could be a very interesting way of presenting their findings, instead of standing next to a presentation and speaking to, you know, 2D images or video that they have found. Now it's actually truly their creation that they can, you know, be proud of. I don't know, Jonathan, if you want to add to that.
No, that's perfect. And we're gonna get you started into like playing with Minecraft, just kind of seeing how it moves around, and then show you some of the lessons that are already involved. So you don't have to think about, you know, what's out there. There are lessons, and in our deck we've actually given you some ideas that you can use for your curriculum that will fit with various things. So what I would like you to do, if you could, is kind of split your screen, if not, or just tune us out, you know, we'll be the voice in your ear, but you're going to open up MinecraftEDU, and it'll come up as a little icon inside of your computer or whatever. It's like a box, it looks like a box with a library on it. And you're going to use your school credentials to log in, and every school board is a little bit different to log in, but you can also sign in for a free demo. So I think you get about 10 free demos if you don't have an actual Minecraft account, but that's okay too. And then we'll go from there. And actually I'll share my screen to show you where to do next. So I just need Isabella to stop there. Perfect. And so this is our Minecraft world. And so once you've logged in, this is what you should have, the version 1.17.3. That is the most up-to-date version that's there. And you're just gonna hit the play button. And by all means, I'll go back and forth from that. And Isabella can help out with the chat to see if you have any problems that are forming in there, and see where it goes. And once you're inside of this, in this space, once you hit play, I would like you to load by going to the view my world, and you're going to find blocks of grass. So you just create, you can go to templates and blocks of grass. So all I did is I went to play. Yeah, I can play, view my world, and then I just went to templates and blocks of grass, and then you're just gonna play that. And then it's going to take a minute to load, so I'm going to load mine. So while we're doing this, hopefully you're loading yours. Let us know if you've tried that, or if you're just sitting here watching us. That's quite all right too. I know it's only 45 minutes, but we're gonna get in this world for about 10 or so, and then we're gonna show you some other stuff, and then hopefully end with some questions.
I do want to say that like the version of Minecraft is very important. I didn't know that I had to update. Otherwise, you can still load it, you can still enter the world. However, you won't be able to proceed past a certain point. So like you'll find your character is kind of stuck.
Yeah. So well, and also you can't like kids can't join each other's worlds if they're in different things. So it's important to make sure your version codes are safe. Now, I like blocks of grass for a couple of reasons. One being that whenever I have my students try something for me, like say I gave them like, please represent this math problem. Like maybe it's a base 10 problem, or maybe it's a fraction problem or a multiplication. I will use blocks of grass because it's something called a flat world. And inside of Minecraft, there are actually a couple of worlds. There's flat, there is infinite, and there is old world, right? Infinite is so you'll get many different mountains, you'll get like water, you'll get depth, whereas a flat world is literally flat. It's only 4 blocks deep, so you can fall through. It's okay, you'll fly around. But it's something of the easiest ones to work with because there's nothing around you other than some sheep. You might see a chicken every now and then, and a cow that comes in. It doesn't work. So it's just easy for kids to not get distracted by things around them, and it's easy for them to find themselves within the world. Now, when you are playing Minecraft, if you're on an iPad, it may look a little different because you pretty much have to tap things and you'll have the controllers there. But on the computer, you'll see what I have. And in the side of my computer screen, you have on the left-hand side, the W, S, A, and D. That is how you move around. So W, D goes backwards, S goes sideways, and A goes the other sideways. And then I use my mouse to move around. So if I want to turn, I have to use my mouse at the same time. And so I apologize if you're getting a little seasick. That does happen. And then space allows me to jump. If I want to hit double space, I can actually fly. And that's kind of the cool, well, I can keep going up. That's an actual important one to learn, as well as knowing where my inventory is, which is my E. And so in creative mode, which is the mode that I prefer for pretty much anything in education, because it allows all my students to have all access to everything that's available in Minecraft, all the materials. They don't have to go mining things. They don't have to worry about creepers coming at them. They don't, like, all those things are important to know because that's how I get that. So all I did was I hit E and my inventory pops up, and what you have is bricks. This shows you the building materials that are there. You have your weapons, which is you don't really need that for creative, but kids get, they're like, I want an armor, and I'm like, okay, whatever. But then you have your bedding and water. Like, this is where all the accessories, and these are actually kind of cool because I've had like kids use string to design rope bridges, like to show me the connections of ropes. Like, and like the things that are here don't necessarily have to be spot on to what they are. So like this sea lantern doesn't need to be a sea lantern. It could be a way to represent and count numbers. The other cool thing is that there's elements of chemistry. So all the chemistry elements are here as well. And so you can build molecular bonds and actually craft like hydrogen and H2O, and you can craft other little things that are in there, which is pretty cool. As well as these two lovely things called a camera. So I'm going to put the camera and the portfolio in here just to show you later in a minute what it is. But and then you have the grass, which is all your like terrain stuff, like so dirt, trees, seeds, plants. And the cool thing is that like seeds won't grow without water and sunlight. So like they actually need physical things in habitats to actually display things. Your animals will actually chase each other and kill each other depending on the chain that's happening. So there's a lot of cool things that happen in Minecraft that are like, you can see representations happening in other elements. But what I would like you to find right now is to hit your E button. And I would like you to find any block you want. So go to the bricks, find any block and put that in your number 1 slot. So any block you want, just something to build with, find that there. And I'm going to give you a minute to see if you can find that. Yeah, so well, I'm pretty sure everything's going to be recorded. David can probably answer that or in the chat of how that's going to be handed out. And then that way you can have this here. And then as Isabella has said, there are some also co-taught lessons that we have here with Cobblestone on the YouTube channel that you can find that will do some of the basic things as well and help like basically pause and play videos that work. So you can take that right into your classroom and work with teachers or with your students, which is really cool. So hopefully, I'm assuming that you found that block. And you'll notice that on my, and it might be faint, I don't know, Isabel, can you see that plus sign on my computer?
Yes, very, very small crosshair.
Yeah, it's very, very small crosshair. So, and then can you see that black box that shows up? Okay, so that's important because that's gonna show me where I'm gonna place things. And to place something, it's normally your right click of your mouse. Now I'm on a Mac, and so my Mac button doesn't have that. So in keyboards and mouse, I turn mine to X. So all I did was I went to my settings. So I hit exit or escape. I go to settings, and then keyboard and mouse allows me to change any of my buttons because I don't actually have a right click. Actually, I do, but it's hard to find. So I changed mine to X. And so just right click and you can place blocks. So that's how your students place blocks, just by right clicking and placing things around wherever that box is will be where you place blocks. You can stack them as high as you want. Again, I can fly and just keep stacking. I can dig down, stack down below. And if I want to destroy something, all I have to do is click it. So one's right click to place and one's left click to destroy. And then there's no undo button. There's no undo in Minecraft. You either build or you destroy. That's pretty much all there is to it. And then you just build things as you go along. And so once you've mastered that, you've pretty much mastered the whole premise of Minecraft that's going on. And so let's see if anyone can place a block in their Minecraft world and see how that goes. And then I'm going to show you like 2 little features before moving on to some of the other lessons that are already built in. So if you have placed a block, you might put it in the chat. If not, okay, you can't place a block, Vanessa. That's okay. Double check to see, do you have it might be the right click button. Or it might not be in your hand. So right now in my right side of my screen, I have my hand kind of sitting there looking like this, and there's no block in it. If I hit the 1 button, because it's in my number 1 spot down below, now the block appears in my hand. So that's the first thing to figure out if it's doing that. The next thing to do are you able to, if I look at the sky and I try to hit X, nothing's gonna happen. I have to look down and see where that black little square is on my screen, and then that will allow me to place the block. And that's the right click. If I don't have the right click button, I go to settings and I go to keyboard and mouse, and then I click and I can hit a button to tell me that that's the button that I want to use. Normally it'll say button 1, button 2, button 3, and I just change that. So that might help you troubleshoot that. If not, you can always contact us at help@cobblestone.ca, and we'll actually help you. We'll figure it out. So at least you're trying, you're playing along, and you're seeing where it goes. So let's see if anyone else, if not, don't worry, we'll figure it out as we go. You can keep playing with that. Hopefully that might jog some memories. Now down below, you'll notice I have 9 squares in my inventory box. So I have the brick, I have a camera, and I have a portfolio. And if I want to toggle through them, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can move those around. But the camera is probably some of the coolest things, because that's how I help my students see things, or they show me their information. I can actually take pictures of my work. So I can keep taking pictures of the things around me just by having that camera. And again, my camera's in my inventory. So I go to inventory, I can use that and just say camera. This is a little magnifying glass, and then I can drop it in. And then in my portfolio, that's where all the pictures goes. And I can actually, like, this is a cow. Now, I wouldn't be saying this is a cow. If I wanted to actually have like a pattern like this one here, I can actually say what the pattern is. So I can type that in. Nice. Memories, you were able to place 8 blocks and now it won't drop anymore. That's okay. If you want to get rid of them, you just click on it. It'll blow them up. But the portfolio allows me to add photos, and then I can export it as a PDF. So you can save this and then download it to your, like, that way your kids you don't have to go into every single kid's world to see them. You can just download it and then see their work. It's a really cool way to show assessment. And so that's the camera and the portfolio. And I do realize we're going pretty quickly for a Minecraft play session, but we'll see where it goes. Yeah, make sure you see where it is. Now, sometimes I do like drop. You might see that. That's not placing a block. So that's just dropping it. So you might have, if you're in one and you've dropped a bunch of stuff, you're like, oh, look, I'm placing blocks. No, you're just dropping material. To place a block, you have to hit X, and you should have pretty much unlimited block in creative. If you are in survival, you only have as many as you've collected. So once you place them, then to destroy it, you just click on it, it goes away. So make sure you're not dropping them. Dropping looks like that, where I like throw, it looks like I'm throwing them at people. And you can go. But that's the fun parts of these worlds. And there are many different things that you can help. And in our YouTube channel, we have tons of like videos to kind of like work through it. And so does the Minecraft world. But that's just the basics, right? Like, so we've learned to move by going W, S goes backwards, D, right? These are all our movement blocks. We've learned to fly by hitting spacebar, and you've learned to find your inventory, which is the E button. You've learned to place an object by right-clicking and destroy an object by left-clicking. And once you know those, you can pretty much do anything inside of Minecraft. You can put in chalkboards to record thinking. You can put in your camera, portfolio. Kids can build whatever worlds they want, and they can explore. Anything you want to add there, Isabella, before we move on to the fun stuff?
No, that's it. I always like to start off with blocks of grass to make sure that all my students know exactly how to maneuver around the space. And just also setting norms. Like, this is this kind of space where I am letting them like explore. And if I realize that they are just like, digging holes and not doing anything, then that's when I would just probably assign a different task for the student in the meantime, or maybe I have to pay attention to the kid more. But yeah, like, this is a really nice space because like then you know what the students need to work on. Like, is it the jumping? Is it the placing? Are they just dropping things instead of placing stuff? So yeah.
So the one thing that may happen to you is that, like, so with blocks of grass, you actually you can fall through the sky. So it's okay, just fly back up. It's only so deep. Though they made it deeper than they used to.
They did.
2, 3, 4. It's now one more layer of deepness, so that's okay. So when kids fall through the sky, I just tell them to fly back up. It will happen. You may fall through, and you remember we talked about failing. Failing's okay too, and that works. Now, I know some of you mentioned the idea of like, how do I keep my kids kind of occupied with the things that are working? And so I want to make sure I address that. One of the ways I do it is I create the world and the space that's here, and I sometimes tell them to only work in a certain space. And so in my settings, so again, to go to settings, all I did was I hit my escape button, which is in the top, normally the top left-hand corner of your computer. It's the ESC button. And then this brings it up and I go to settings. And inside of settings, there are a couple things that are kind of important to think about. One, I always try to be in creative mode. 2, I do try to label. It'll ask me to label later when I save it so that I don't have like tons of blocks of grass. But the other one that I tend to turn off are these options, right? So TNT explodes, you can turn this off so that now kids can't explode things. I think it's also important. Fire spreads, like, right? Friendly fire, I turn off, right? So that kids can't hurt each other. And I also turn off the show, I turn on the show coordinates. I turn off that. I turn off most things.
I do too.
Yeah. And I always like the always day on, because then
Yes.
I always get kids that say, it's nighttime. I'm like, I know, but it's like in a video game, you're okay. But
it's also less distracting when it's the same like sunlight.
Yeah.
It's just permanent. Yeah.
So I turn a lot of these off, and then those stop things from like exploding or blowing things up or destroying. And then the coordinates are important. So you'll see in the top left-hand corner now, I have 15, 4, and 8. So that's my X, Y, and Z coordinate grids. So Minecraft also teaches them orientation on a Cartesian plane. And so you can tell kids, please go to X, Y, and Z, and they can find those coordinates, and you can place boundaries by like putting in like a fence. Whoops, not fancy, fence. And I can place that fence when I build this world. I can actually place this fence now. Whoops, hit the wrong button. And then I can have a fenced off area for kids to be in, so that they're only working in so many areas. So I can be like, okay, Isabella, this is where I want you to work right here now. And so Isabella knows that this is where her work is going to situate itself. And then I can have another fence. So I would have 24 fences that go on. And there are codes to kind of help you build those, but that is helpful for me to manage some of the kids to only work in a certain area and space. And I also use, like, in my inventory, I use signs, or actually I use chalkboards more than anything else. So you can type in boards, and it's a giant chalkboard. Whoops, I always hit C. It's a giant chalkboard that allows you to type. So I'd be like, Isabella, this is where I would like you to build. Please show me the rock cycle. I can lock it so that she can't type in it, but now she's going to walk around and be like, oh, this is what Mr. So wants, or this is what Jonathan wants me to do. I can then come into the world because I can multiplayer, or when I share it with her, she knows this is the spot that she needs to work in. And so that helps with a little bit of the focusing issues that tend to happen. But like we said before, those norms of collaboration are vital when you first set up. And I think the very first day that I ever have kids in Minecraft, it's literally just go play. Just go play, blow things up, chase a chicken, do whatever you need to do, get it all out of you. And it does help things that are here. Now that's like the basics of Minecraft in like a whirlwind of time. And we understand that, but I want to make sure we leave time for where we can show you the lessons, but I also want to share with you that Minecraft doesn't leave you wanting or being like, how do I do this? Like, what do I need to actually do? It actually provides you. So we have this view my worlds, right? That's where the create was. In the view library, it actually tells you lessons that you can use with your students. And these are all for free inside of Minecraft, right? So there's subject kits. And if I wanted math, I'm like, oh, grade 4. There's already made worlds, like base 10 puzzles, that I can say create world. There's a lesson plan that goes with it. And my students can go, and there's already a lesson designed for you. So I love these that are here. There's math, there's computer science, social emotional learning, literacy connections, digital citizenships, climate, like esports now are in here, which is really cool. And all I did for those is I went to the library, and then I found the subject kits. There's also monthly building challenges. And then this is the best part, the how to play. So a lot of us right now just spent 10 minutes listen to me like, boom, fire hose, a whole bunch of information on you. But you can go to the how to play, and it will tell you what to do step by step. How do I move? How do I place a block? How do I build? So if you want to, spend some time with these tutorials or even with your students on those tutorial worlds. And so it'll help you out learning with it. And then finally, I'm gonna turn it over to Isabel in a minute, but there's also a website, and I need to stop sharing my screen, and maybe Isabel can actually, because I don't have that on me. Whoops, how do I, stop share, there we go. There is a website that will actually show you more worlds and more lessons, and I'll turn that over to Isabel.
Yeah, so it's on our slide deck as well, but if you click on that website, all you have to do is scroll down and you can either get started. If you have no idea how to get started, you can just click on that. Or you can just go ahead and head on over to resources and you can actually find lessons. And if you go to find lessons, you'll be able to see actually a bunch of different lessons that they've already created that are categorized into different sections. So if you are just getting started with a particular math concept, then you can actually start browsing different types of lessons, and they'll teach you. Like, so let's just say you're having a lesson in decimal and fractions. They'll tell you what the learning goals are. You can actually open up and they will tell you what the student activity is going to look like. They actually describe to you what the student's experience is like, because this is a particular lesson that you have access to on Minecraft. And if you're not sure as to what they're supposed to do, you can also, there's also guiding questions for you to go through. It talks about like what that space is going to be like. So it's a 10 by 10 grid in this particular activity. So it's really straightforward. There are some activities that are a little bit more elaborate. There are answer keys for you to download. There's also the educator's guide. Sometimes there's accompanying handouts with it as well. But you don't have to feel like you have to create a world and have your students join in. There are all these worlds that are already pre-created for you. And you have access to the website education.minecraft.net. So education Minecraft, right there. I'll just paste it into the chat. Yeah, and you can just select teach with Minecraft and then explore lessons under resources. Yeah, just have fun with it because there's a lot of lessons and they keep updating that as well. And you know, once you in your classroom has gotten used to Minecraft, as Jonathan has mentioned, there are monthly build challenges. So you can have like a genius hour at the end of the week to just have that time where they're exploring and building that whatever that build challenge is. In terms of learning management systems, what I really like about it, because we are, at my school, we use our Google Classroom, but you can also share that lesson with colleagues or even with your students in your learning management system. So once you have found your particular lesson, you can just go to the top left corner in the image. So I'm going to go back to my decimal and fraction. There is a little share button there, and it will ask you, how do you want to share it? Do you want to email it? Do you want to put it into your learning management system? In my case, it's my Google Classroom, or you can share it to Microsoft Teams. Yes. And so it's great. Like, so you don't have to be the only person who's using these lessons. You can actually curate a bunch of lessons for your department, and you can, yeah, have your own like deck of Minecraft curriculum. And we just did our walkthrough. Oh, these are some of the technical considerations to think about because Minecraft is quite heavy on computer memory. So work with your school's IT team. They'll let you know how you can implement it, especially if you have your own devices. With the new update, you can now host up to 40 students. So if you are co-teaching it with another teacher, you can actually have two classes joining in within the same world, or you can have them visit each other's worlds, but we can have a maximum of 40 students. And mouse and keyboards are quite useful, but are not required. So as you have seen, you can actually go into the settings and change up the keypad, the little controls. So the accessibility side of things is actually quite good because it's customizable. Everything is, you can create your own commands, you can create your own controls.
So Dennis, there are not worlds hosted from the teacher's station. Well, I shouldn't say that. So you can, as a teacher, I can host a world, but it's not on the Minecraft server. It's basically on my computer. So everything, that's the other thing, is that all worlds are hosted on the physical computer. There's no cloud. So like if I wanted to host, if I wanted to share my world, actually, Isabel, can I share my screen one more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I was into the world that I was in here, I can host this world. But if I was just to play it, when I hit escape, there was that zoomy like box thing in the top corner. Sorry, I forgot to load my world, so now I got to wait for it too. But that will allow me to have multiplayer, and it will give me a code that my students would then join with, and so then they can just join into the world. It is so much easier when you're inside of the same network. Where I had issues was when I was at home doing home learning. I had to change some of my firewall permissions, but that's a very basic thing to try to figure out. But I had all 25 students. So when I hit escape, there's that screen there. Now it says start hosting, and I can host. This is the link that I would share. So it would be fish, carrot, water bucket, map, and then kids in my domain. So Isabella can't join my domain because we don't work in the same school board. So only those in my school board can join this. And then they have access to everything that's going on. So that's how you share inside of it, but it's not hosted on any Minecraft server per se.
Yeah, I know there was a lot of information, but you have access to the slide deck. There are plenty of more resources that we didn't specifically talk about. They're hidden. So you can go through those slides and just take a look at what are some of the resources that you can immediately implement. And before we go, we would love it if we could have your feedback, because we want to make sure that these sessions are helpful to you. So if you can let us know in the chat there. Oh, sorry, that's not a live link, but I will put that in just so we know how we can better create these workshops for you. And first, I highly recommend you to check out what the upcoming lessons are, because it's always a fun time teaching alongside with other classes in Minecraft.
Yeah, and last link I'm going to drop in there. If you ever want to learn more about education in Minecraft, there's tons of resources in the Microsoft Training Center, and we just dropped a code that you can redeem along with your IT coin. There's another code that we dropped in there that you can actually get points and things like that for Minecraft. But thanks so much. I know 45 minutes to play Minecraft is huge, but there's a lot in that deck for you to put in there. And hopefully you have a great time, and feel free to contact us at any time.
That's the code again. So make sure you record it, and then we'll put the code in the slide deck as well.